Kelowna, one of the most beautiful places in the world to live, surrounded by provincial parks, pine forests, vineyards, orchards, and mountains. Wouldn't it be great if there was a podcast about our love of Kelowna? Oh no, it's real. This is I Love Kelowna, an interview-style podcast about the fabulous and fascinating people that make up our great city and the Okanagan. Intimate conversations with entrepreneurs, executives, thought leaders, creatives, and anyone who has an interesting story to tell about how they're contributing to our wonderful home. This is I Love Kelowna, and here's your host, Luke J. Minkus.
Sandy, thank you so much for coming over today on this beautiful Sunday. It's a beautiful sunny day.
It is a beautiful day, and it's a real pleasure to be here. Thank you.
You're very welcome. So you've got a bit of a long connection to Kelowna. I understand you came here in 2002, where you met your husband.
Yes.
Online in 2002.
I did.
You moved here in 2009. Then you moved away.
Oh, well, let's backtrack that.
Explain that.
2002, we'll identify it as the wooing years.
Okay.
I moved from Kamloops, where I'm originally from, to Kelowna. And my husband was working for a couple different companies, and he encouraged me to take a job up at Big White. So I lived up there full time, skied in the morning and worked at night. It was a brilliant lifestyle.
Wonderful.
We ended up getting married in 2000. I'm going to get this wrong. It's either 2003. Yeah, it must have been 2003. By 2004, we were living offshore in the Turks and Caicos Islands.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we lived there for several years, and he had kind of warned me when we started dating in the wooing years. He had mentioned that he had every intention of living overseas again, and that I should get ready to pack my bags. So we ended up in the Turks and Caicos Islands for 5 years, and then right after kind of the financial crisis made living down there a little hard, so we headed back to Canada, and we had the choice of Kamloops, Kelowna, Vancouver, but Kelowna seemed like the obvious, choice.
Yeah. So you've been here continuously since 2009.
That's right.
So that's interesting. You never know what you have in common with someone until you ask. So
right.
I lived in the Cayman Islands from 1997 to 2008.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Colin was in Cayman from 89 to 99.
Wow. So I might have met him in the early days. I mean, that was over 20 years ago. But I was considering moving to Turks and Caicos. And my mentor, he was a realtor from Toronto. His name was John May. He passed away in 2011. But long story short, my dad was going to retire in Grand Cayman in 97. He bought a property, and 2 weeks after he bought this property, he was diagnosed with terminal cancer. So I went down there to take care of things for him, and I fell in love with it, and I decided to move. But John May was talking about a real estate project in Turks and Caicos. And I said, John, should I move to Turks and Caicos? Because I'm going to inherit a little bit of money, and I love living in the tropics.
Yeah.
And he said, well, and you can tell me if this is true, but he said, the problem with Turks and Caicos is there's no cruise ships. And because there's no cruise ships, there's no shopping. And because there's no shopping, there's no women. And because there's no women, there's no men. And because there's no men, there's no business.
Well,
so is that a bit of an exaggeration? Or?
Well, by the time we moved down there in 2004, and we moved to Providenciales, shortened version is Provo.
That's the capital.
Yeah. Well, no, actually the capital is Grand Turk, which over the period of time we lived there actually did introduce quite a sophisticated cruise ship terminal. And it's on all of the routes for, I think, Caribbean cruise lines and Princess and so forth.
Okay.
But Provo had the largest population, and they really branded themselves as a luxury destination. So you're at like a minimum of $1,000 a night hotel room. Yeah, it's a very expensive destination. And we were happily ensconced in our expatriate community until we had 2 hurricanes in 1 week. The second one being Hurricane Ike, which was very devastating. And we actually had to evacuate our home and kind of huddle up with another group. And it took weeks to kind of put our property back together, but, months and months and months before power was restored. And we just knew with the financial crisis and how it was unwinding in the United States that life was going to be really tough. So we were fortunate enough to sell our property and relocate to Kelowna, which is also a tropical paradise to those who live in Winnipeg.
Right. So true. So true. I grew up in Toronto, and it is kind of tropical compared to even Toronto.
Well, today's quite balmy.
Yes, it's beautiful. So was your husband in financial services in the Turks and Caicos?
No, actually, Colin was a builder. He worked for a large construction firm. I have always had a background of tourism, marketing, and now it's financial services. I ended up in the very end working for a group running a private island destination. So, we flew into that private island and so forth. So I was really fortunate with the people I got to meet and rub shoulders with, and
fun. So how did you get into financial services and life insurance?
I know you're like, how does these two things don't go together? 2014, I had been working for Shaw for, good 4 years. And I was just part of a great big layoff. And I really chose to see it as an opportunity instead of, something, horrible had happened to me. So I took my severance package and I went, thank you very much. And I decided to kind of retool my skill set. And a couple years prior, Colin had been diagnosed with inconvenient cancer, a thyroid cancer. So it's not deadly, but it's super inconvenient and will really, slow down your finances. So we found he wasn't working for 2 years. So, even when I wasn't always loving my Shaw job, because I was the lady who would call you at dinner time to convince you to switch cable providers, I was that lady. But it was a job. And I just knew that as the beneficiary on this teeny tiny insurance policy we had gotten way back when, it made me feel insecure. So I knew there was a better way of handling all of that. And since then, I've really focused in on the family market. So I specialize in life and critical illness insurance. And I refer out to people who want travel insurance or group benefits. I refer them to excellent people within this community. But my focus is life and critical illness. And I seem to attract the hard to insure. So I work really well with the impossible to insure.
Interesting. So I want to ask you about that because you mentioned hurricanes. 2004, Hurricane Ivan devastated the Cape Islands. And my property was sliced in half. And unfortunately, after the hurricane was the first time I actually read an insurance policy. And I bought many insurance policies. And so when you called on this critical illness policy that you had.
Well, actually, we didn't have one. So
you had some insurance.
We had just a little tiny life insurance policy that we had taken out just before we had gotten married. But I had never heard of critical illness insurance until we bloody well needed it. And now that's the kind of conversation I take up with families all the time. I'm like, you don't know what life is going to look like if your partner can't go to work for 2 years. And it is really disruptive for your family finances.
Right. So this was like a policy you were able to cash in and gave you a little bit of money.
If we had that insurance policy, it would have given us a lump sum check.
I mean, like, no, you mentioned you had a small policy.
We had a small life insurance policy, but happy to report my husband is alive.
Right, of course. So you realized you didn't have the
I did not have the adequate coverage. And when I was laid off from Shaw, I realized that there was someone hadn't done a great job in looking after me and Colin. Yeah. So I have just been determined to be that person for other people.
Sure.
Yeah.
Understood. So, I mean, a lot of us think those of us who have lived most of our lives in very good health, that BC Health is going to cover you for no matter what.
Yeah.
So tell us, what is a critical illness policy? Why do we need it?
Well, first of all, happy to report that MSP really is a great little system. However, it doesn't cover things like acupuncture and massage really, really regularly, which those things kind of help you through your process and through your treatment and heal. There was a couple instances where the medication was not covered through MSP and was horrifically expensive.
Really?
Yeah, had we not had group benefits with my employer, we would have been on the hook for a $2,000 pill.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's how much one pill costs.
One pill costs.
And how often did he have to take
So
that?
he had to do it 2 years in a row. So I'm here to tell families that MSP does not cover your parking. If you need a special treatment in Vancouver and suddenly you see yourself staying there for 2 weeks for an extended period, MSP does not cover Airbnb.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And then it doesn't cover childcare when you have to leave your son or daughter here, with a family friend to make sure their school is, there's continuity in their life while you're down in Vancouver. Or so grateful we've got a great system here in Kelowna. But all that being said, MSP is wonderful, but all the other things just are enormous factors. And when you can't go to work, and your income is cut in half or worse, I talk to families about how you're leaning on your line of credit. So you've amplified your emergency.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if a person gets really sick, the province does give some disability payments. But it's not enough.
If you were an employee, you would qualify for, and I'm going to butcher this, I'm going to call it EI, sickness and illness. It's about 15 weeks, and it's a percentage of your income. Great. Love it. Hello, Kelowna, land of the entrepreneur who typically does not pay into CPP or have EI benefits.
Right.
I'm a solopreneur. My husband's a solopreneur. Everyone I hang out with has their own business.
Me too.
Yeah,
as a realtor.
Exactly.
I don't pay into.
Yeah. So you know exactly what I speak of.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about it. Like, maybe you could walk me through a basic interview. I don't know if you can or not.
Well, what I first of all do is I just build a relationship with people.
Yeah.
I think that people in my industry have a habit of scaring people into a decision. And I really like math. I'm a bit of a nerd. So I like math to kind of walk us in the direction that we need to go. So we just basically do a review, and I want to identify where your pain points are. Like, why are you sitting across from me? Why do you think you need my help? And then we'll just identify, what your outstanding mortgage or your line of credit or your car loan is. Because the most ideal situation would be to, if you were to pass away, leave your partner debt-free and replace your income.
Right.
Or if you became sick with heart attack, stroke, or 22 other covered conditions, that this money would pay out and provide you 1, 2, 3 years of income replacement.
Right.
Yeah. So I really let the conversation, kind of like what we're doing right now, just kind of bloom. This is not a transactional experience for my clients because I'm not selling them a policy and, hey, I'll never see you again.
Right.
We check in, and when life gets, complicated or it changes, they get divorced or they have another baby or they buy a rental property, I want to talk to them because their risk has changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's really cool that it was a personal experience that led you to understand the importance of these products.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
So I want to ask you a little bit about sales, because I'm in sales, and to me, insurance is probably one of the hardest things to sell, like much harder than real estate, because most of us don't believe we need it. until it's too late.
Well, when you sell a house, you get to move into something fabulous, right?
It's exciting.
Right.
It's exciting. And we don't usually need to, like in a slow market, there is some persuasion that we have to comfort people. And,
sure.
We have to do some math, especially when it comes to investments.
Sure.
But we like to feel, especially when we're in good health and when we're young, that we're immortal.
Right.
And similar to my building in the Cayman Islands, I got the bare minimum policy because I thought it was just a waste of money.
Mm-hmm.
And I sure changed my mind about that after the hurricane, after the storm.
Sure.
So we have a personal storm. Like, how do we let people know that you need to take care of this before the storm comes,
Well, you just nailed it. You need to get your insurance before the hurricane is reported and heading towards the island. I'm here to say that any little bit of personal insurance is a good step forward.
Right.
I like to validate a client's decision that they bought a $50,000 policy 10 years ago. Good for you. It's not going to solve a lot of problems, but it's something, right?
And I think
it's hard. It's not that it's hard sale because, and I don't often think of it as a sale. I mean, if you're taking a critical illness policy, of course you would be the recipient of the money. You're not dead. You're just simply going to receive a lump sum tax-free check from me.
Yeah.
Not that I'm looking forward to those opportunities to give you that check because it means you're sick. But really, when I'm sitting across from an individual or a family, this is how you show you love someone, is you get your poop in a group, as a good friend likes to call it. And so when I talk to them about insurance, but I also talk to them about the importance of having a will and your power of attorney and when's the last time you did your taxes. So all these really adult topics get brought out onto the table. Oftentimes, one or both of the partners have been having these same topics roll around in the back of their mind, but it's intimidating sometimes to talk to your spouse about it.
Yeah. So
when you have a third party like Sandy Mac sitting at the kitchen table going, well, let's just talk about, what this looks like.
Yeah.
It often brings along a really great conversation afterwards. It's not really a sale because I'm an advisor and I'm a team member.
Yeah. That's very cool. So do you do a lot of cold calling, or is it mostly people coming to you and referrals?
I love that. I have never made an insurance cold call ever.
Good. I'm glad. Because I don't like it.
Well, it's just so random.
Yeah.
That's no, for me, I belong to a BNI group. They've been really successful in connecting me with the right referral. So I let them know, and this is my little pitch. It's like, I'm looking to be introduced to individuals and couples between the ages of 30 and 55 that are experiencing change. So they got married, had a baby, bought a house, got divorced, started a business. Those are life changes that should be reviewed with life and critical illness.
Yes.
And then, of course, my own clients. Hopefully I've done a really great job for them and they become raving fans and they refer me to their friends and family. So I'm starting my 4th year and I'm starting to get that kind of traction, and it's a real thrill because you've done a good job then.
Yeah. At what point in the relationship do you ask your current clients for referrals? And a lot of these questions I'm asking, just so you know, are for my own selfish benefit.
That's
right. So
good.
That's why I love interviewing experts.
I start out my conversation with saying 3 things. One of 3 things are going to happen in our conversation today. 1, we're going to love working with each other and we'll be really excited to get started right away. 2, we really enjoy each other, but you've got a bit of homework to do in the background. We're not quite ready to work together, but we will. Or 3, we're not a perfect fit, and that's okay. It's all good. Just let me know where we fit in at the end of this conversation.
Right.
And it's almost always 1 or 2.
Yeah.
And then, when we're working through the process, I'll just say something like, when you're really happy with what I've done for you, I'm hoping that you'll think of someone just like you, because I only like to work with people I like. You'll refer someone as great as you onto me, and I can help them as well.
That's great.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I just want to form relationships. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Have you been with the same company for the past 4 years?
So I'm a broker.
Okay.
So I have my own business, my own practice, and because I'm a broker, I can place business with a whole host of different carriers. Mm-hmm. It really depends on what my client's need is. And I said I kind of specialize in the hard to insure. So someone with a poor driving record, I'm going to place over there.
I see.
Right.
So it affects rates and so on. If a person does cocaine or has a bad driving record, it may be a challenge.
Yeah, those things can certainly be challenging. And when it comes to rates, it's based on the quality of your health, your lifestyle, and your age.
Right.
So when you were commenting earlier about this young buck who thinks nothing will ever happen, that's actually when you should get your insurance, because it's cheap as chips.
Right.
Don't be like me and Colin, who finally started adulting with our insurance in our mid-40s.
Right.
Yeah, because then you really have to plan it into your budget. But when you're out living your life, you might want to just take a pause on that party product.
Right.
Because, you really do want to disclose everything to your broker.
Yes.
So you can confidently know that
You're
if
covered.
a claim needs to be put in, that it would be paid.
Right. So you've got a couple of dogs.
I do. I have 2 Turks and Caicos pot cakes, and people go, pot what? So that's the mixed breed that is down on the island. They're all through the Bahamas, the Turks and Caicos, Abaco. Yeah.
So they came from there.
Yeah. So Murphy, when we lived on the island, she came home with us. And so we would just say she's a Royal Red Fox Retriever. So later on, we've DNA'd her, and she's, I think, a little bit Golden Retriever and Elk Hound. She talks a lot.
Really?
Yeah.
So what do you mean talks?
She endless. If she was in the room with us right now, she'd be like, "Meow, meow, 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 meow."
Really?
Like she's almost like a chatty cat. And then Cali came to us just over a couple of years ago. She flew as a piece of carry-on luggage from a tourist who was from the Vancouver area and had been vacationing down there. So I just put out the word I was looking for another puppy, and the Turks and Caicos SPCA found someone flying in my direction.
Nice.
Yeah.
So wonderful. And you love Kelowna, the outdoors. Tell us some of your favorite spots in town.
Well, Colin and I absolutely love to do a regular walk downtown. That waterfront walk, through City Park.
So great.
Stopping for a coffee, a chat, if our girls are behaving themselves. Right. Otherwise, we're horribly embarrassed parents as our dogs are barking and being maniacs. Pardon me, but, we like to explore different neighborhoods, park the car, and just go and take a poke.
Yeah.
Kelowna has some beautiful neighborhoods, whether actually your neighborhood, Luke, is lovely.
Gooshigan Village, in case anyone was wondering.
If anyone wants a nice Sunday walk,
come here for an interview and then
come down to the Gooshigan area.
There's the gardens right over here. Have you seen those?
I don't know that I have.
I think it's called Gooshigan Gardens, but a lot of people have weddings there.
Oh.
So it's just beautiful flowers and landscaping. And there's an old restored house, over 100 years old. And some early settlers to Kelowna lived there. And
I think I have seen
someone
that, actually.
Someone lives in part of it, and part of it's a museum or something. I'm not sure.
I'm going to malign this name, and I apologize. It's the Japanese garden down by City Hall.
Yes. Yeah, I know.
No one can pronounce it.
I know what you're talking about.
Anyway, best place to have lunch.
I never even knew that was there until someone
lunch,
told me.
Go down on a spring or a summer day. It is magnificent. Where else do we like to take a walk? I know this isn't dead in Kelowna, but now that the rail trail is up and going, in the Lake Country, Oyama area. How magnificent. We are so blessed to live here in the Okanagan.
It's amazing.
Oh,
so great.
It's a joy.
We, I'll edit this part, but we're at about 23 and a half minutes. Okay. So it's good. But is there anything else that I didn't ask you that you would like to cover?
Well, I sound like a very serious insurance broker, but I am really actually a lot of fun.
I know this, and I think it came across. I mean, we weren't too serious about the products and stuff. So, yeah. So I think we've covered everything in your bio, but if there's anything else you wanted to mention, I can pose it as a question, but I think it's good. We've had interviews from 14 minutes up to an hour, and we're up to 23.
I think one of the things that I've heard a lot is moving to Kelowna can be so hard. It feels very cliquey. Mm-hmm. It's really hard making friends.
Yes.
And I think I was of that mindset myself until I got that you need to get out there and extend a hand. Not that you need to extend a hand first, but you need to just be a joiner.
Yes.
I have just been welcomed to the most amazing professional community in the last 4 or 5 years. Yeah. Just really tremendous top drawer professionals live here in the Okanagan. And they're fun and intelligent, and the business opportunities that are available here are unsurpassed. No need to go to Calgary, no need to go to Vancouver.
So true.
Yeah.
I had a similar experience. I mean, everybody told me, oh, you're going to Kelowna. This is in 2011.
Right.
I was living in Nelson, and people said,
town.
oh, it's, but people were like, oh, it's so cliquey, you're going to have a real hard time. And I really was nervous, but I didn't find that at all. I thought the business community is great. The social community is great. And
they're very charitable here.
Most of us are kind of from somewhere else.
Yeah.
But even the locals, I didn't find to be... I mean, you get what you focus on, I think. I'm sure there are people that are stuck up, but that's the same in every city on the planet.
I find this town to be fun, charitable, there's always something happening.
Yes.
So you can choose to be involved or you can choose to cocoon.
Exactly. Very true. Very true. Sandy, who would you like to nominate to come on the show?
Okay, so I would like to nominate Josh Stillborn. He is a very interesting human. He is a triathlete. Mm-hmm. I believe he is known to enjoy a nice glass of Okanagan wine.
Okay.
And he's an entrepreneur, so he's got some new ventures. He and his wife, Lindsay, she's an interesting lady too. So
nice.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Lucas. I really appreciate that.
It's been a fun conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks everyone.
Bye.
Luke Mankus is a realtor. He loves what he does. We asked Luke if he had any regrets about moving here in 2011, and he always says, yeah, one regret. And that is, he didn't move here sooner. When Luke came here, he didn't know anyone. He didn't know the neighborhoods or anything or anyone besides his daughter, who was 6 years old at the time. So he knows what it's like. Now, he's an expert and has helped well over 100 single people, couples, families, and investors with their real estate needs in the Okanagan. If you're new to our beautiful city, Luke can help you get connected with great lawyers, dentists, carpenters, landscapers, swimming pool installers, you name it. And whether you're new to Kelowna or not, Luke knows real estate. He can help you find a great property, negotiate a good deal, and hold your hand all the way through the process until the day you get your shiny new set of keys. Luke is known as a no-pressure kind of guy. He's had clients where it took even a year or more to get them into a property. He just doesn't believe in rushing things. On the other hand, when you decide it's time to act, he's diligent and he'll work day and night until the job is done. Give Luke Mankus a call or a text message at any time, 778-215-4273. Again, that's 778-215-4273. 778-215-4273 to chat with Luke about real estate.